What if I told you that you could design and live the life that you want on your own terms? Would you do it? Would you take a leap into the unknown? Or would you settle for a life of limits, a life of safety but lacking true meaning? Zeph and Moses Blacksburg here, and I'm on a journey to help you ignite your inner passions, let go of your fears, and get more out of life. Will you join me and make this year your year of purpose? Welcome to the Year of Purpose podcast. Hey, Year of Purpose podcast. This is Zeph and Blacksburg here, host of your podcast show, and today I'm joined by Wesley Chapman. Now, Wesley works with hundreds of youth and adults on a monthly basis, moving them from where they are to where they want to be. Wesley was abandoned at 1 by his father and then at 6.5 by his mother. He tried to commit suicide 12 times before his 16th birthday. He was abused in every way possible, and he survived and is on a mission to help 25 million more survive. Wesley Chapman has been an entrepreneur since the age of 8 years old and was self-sufficient by the age of 16. He started consulting CEOs of Fortune 500 companies at the age of 19 and has been featured on Fox, A&E, CNN, TechCrunch, Universal Films, and others. He has learned the most important part of being an entrepreneur is to hold your head up high in your failures and stay humble in your successes. He's the founder of a Human Project, a for-purpose 501c3 with a mission to create a community of empowered youth. He's also the founder of Superhuman Life, a program designed to ensure ultimate understanding of one's true potential. His experiences in life and skills in the entrepreneurial community have prepared him for what is now his greatest life mission, creating a world of hope. Now, Wesley, thank you so much for being here today.
It's an honor, sir. I love that we're going to have a conversation about all those things you just rattled off. So it's an exciting time in my life right now.
And you truly have an amazing mission here. You want to impact 25 million people's lives. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Specifically 25 million youth and adults as well. But yeah, I think we can do more than that. We're on track to do more than that as long as I've got a few more days left.
And I fully support what you're doing here. I mean, this quite possibly was or is one of the most impactful episodes that I think I've had so far for the podcast, only because I really resonate with your story. I have quite an interesting past as well, dealing with a lot of things around that sort of age range. And so I know that this is such a crucial time in many teenagers' lives when they're at that age. But also there are some people, late 20s, 30s, 40s, and if not older, who are going through a lot of these things. So I'm happy that I was able to bring you here to show people that it's okay what they've been through, what they're going through. And as long as they do, like you said, to keep moving forward, it is so important. So maybe could we get started with a little bit about how you went from everything that was going on in your life to a self-sufficient entrepreneur by 16?
It's a long story. The synopsis of it, quickly is that I saw all of these different things happening in my life, and they were happening because of adults, meaning the abuse, the all of it was because of adults that had been given guardianship or stewardship over my life. And one of the adults who I actually ended up, staying with for the duration of my childhood, who is my hero, she became disabled very, very quickly after I was in her custody and in her care, and that was kind of the final straw for me. I mean, I'd gone from living in hospitals and living in these situations to being in a normal home and having a scenario, and then she becomes disabled, and everything that I was starting to enjoy was basically about to be ripped from underneath me, and I was going to be, right back into a situation. And so, and I knew a lot about the system. She hadn't legally adopted me. I was never legally adopted. I was always in a ward of the state. But I knew that if her circumstance changed or whatever, the state may get in and say, you're not a suitable, guardian anymore, so we got to move him, which I didn't want to go through. So basically, I saw an opportunity and I took it, and that opportunity was creating income and creating money. I had a very good understanding of what money meant at a very early age, and at 8.5 years old, I started my first business and made $500 that day and really never looked back, in the sense of when you can create your own reality. Like, I think that some people are so terrified of that because that sounds fictitious, or it sounds like you're manipulating. I don't know. Everyone has a different feeling when I say creating your own reality. But when you can look at your life and say, look, this is what everyone has told me. I mean, you shared a little bit about your situation and your past with me before we got on the show. But at 7.5 years old, I was told I would be nothing. I would be no one. I was worthless. I should just basically be thrown into a boys' home. I was a worthless human being. And that stuck with me, in all honesty. And, hearing that is definitely painful. And for a year of my life, I believed it. And then in this moment, I kind of said, wait a minute, the same adult-like figures that were molesting me and hurting me and abandoning me and doing these things to me were telling me that I was worthless at the same time. So that can't be accurate. So my reality is very simple. My reality is that I am in control of my own destiny. I am in control of my situation. So if I'm in control of that, then let's take control of that and let's make something happen. So I did. Made $500 and never turned back. And even in my failures, I've always remembered that even though, yes, I failed, and yes, there's circumstances that made it so that it wasn't 100% my fault or any of this other garbage that, you want to feed yourself when you're in a moment of defeat, I always go back to saying, whether it is my fault or it isn't my fault, it is my fault, because it's my fault what I do now. It's my fault what I do today, because yesterday is over. And if I'm not mistaken, it's today.
I really like that. It sounds as if you've developed your inner voice of hope throughout that experience, and that's been something that you've been able to keep with you, ever since. And that's something that, for me, when I was going through my depression and my suicidal thoughts at 13, I questioned why me. So I didn't necessarily have people saying that I wouldn't turn out to be anything, but I wanted to know why all of these things were happening to me as opposed to someone else. And at the same time, I had lost 2 friends, one to suicide and one to a car accident. And I started to question, well, why them? So I kind of had the same voice inside of me that I had to fight against and to keep going and keep pushing throughout that entire experience. And it's amazing once you find that, because I think that stays with you the rest of your life.
It does. And again, and I totally understand that why me mentality, that's where a lot of people, they'll sit and they'll stay there, and they'll basically see that they use that as the fuel, and that is not effective fuel, as you already know, but some of your audience doesn't know that. It's where you're placing your energy, your mind, your resources. We all have the same resources, right? We all have 24 hours in our day. We all have the same situational things that we can do. We all have similar resources. And if you live in the United States of America, you even have a step above on resources than others, because you have equal opportunity. And I'm tired of hearing about, well, I lived here, so I don't have this. My skin color is this, so I don't have this. I have this. So I'm tired of that excuse, because that's a bought-in. You're buying that in from somebody else. That, and I could give you example after example after example, whether, we want to talk about people who have revolutionized the world and don't have legs, or we want to talk about the people who have become multi-billionaires and run empires and they're African American, or we want to talk about, a woman who's in charge of a company. I mean, it doesn't really matter. There are examples of people out there who have overcome, quote unquote, the obstacles and created their definition of success, their passion of success. When we tell ourselves we're not good enough, why me? I'm this race, so thus I don't have these opportunities. Those are all lazy. That's lazy talk. And I know I'm offending people, and I apologize, and we'll tie this all in, but that's lazy talk. That's you giving in to a reality that isn't the reality that exists in the actual world. The actual world, aka the scientific world, the world that's here, the world that's, evolving and changing and things that are happening, gives us all similar opportunities to achieve. It's what we do with those opportunities that really give us that give us the success or not the success. It's not the skin color, it's not the background, it's not the whatever else. It's what we choose to do. And many of us choose to buy into these excuses, to buy into this attitude, to buy into these negative thought processes. And thus we have the reality that we live in, which is maybe not successful, but that's not the real reality. That's our reality, and it can be changed at any point in life. You're 60 years old, you want to change? Change. You're 16, you want to change? Change. It doesn't really matter, but it starts with you.
You're absolutely right. And I think that it's good if you offend people, because it means that you're really making them think and reevaluate what they're doing in their life. You had a great video where you talked about how it is your fault, and you brought that up a little bit there. Could you maybe explain that part just a little bit more about how it is our fault if we don't do anything and don't make this change?
Yeah, and I use those words very specifically because I am trying to get, you look, as you just said, if you agree with somebody 100%, you're probably not going to change, right? Because they're speaking to what you deem as reality. They're speaking to you as, because they're trying to get you to like them. That's really what it comes down to, okay? Human beings need attention. We need relationships. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, the one of the biggest reasons we're in some of the situations we're in this world is because we're not giving people the attention that they need. And so, there's all these different aspects that are going on, and there's all these different things. And so I do want to rattle people's feathers. And there is this, whole aspect of, as I said, I'm not saying that, you being molested, or you being abandoned, or you being lost, or you being diagnosed with depression, or you being, losing your job is 100% your fault. Now, I can go through and dissect each one of those on a different level and maybe find areas in which you can see like, oh, wait, like let's take something as simple as losing your job. You may have been complaining for months or years about how much you hate your job and you wish you had another job, and then you get a pink slip and you're like, I can't believe they fired me. So there is that discussion. That could be your fault. But it's really your responsibility to make a change different than what so if let's say you were abused, okay? If you stay in that abuse by being a victim, by constantly reminding yourself of it, by doing these things, if you stay in that environment, that is your fault, because you haven't taken the responsibility to move forward. You're staying stagnant, and much like a puddle of water or a lake that doesn't have circulation, right? Anything that stays stagnant becomes moldy and stinky and pretty darn gross and starts growing some really weird creatures. And so if you're staying stagnant in your own life, in your own development, and you're wondering why it stinks, why it has this awful smell, why you don't have good things happening, why you have these weird creatures that are, sticking around in your life, aka the people in your life, well, you got to look in the mirror and you got to say, what am I doing? What am I not doing? What can I do more of? How can I become more effective? How can I become more? It's all about you at that moment, not, gosh, I can't believe I was abused. I can't believe this happened to me. I can't believe this. Why me? Why not somebody else? Why did I have to go through this? Those are all, you can even just hear in the voice inflections, those are just such defeatist attitudes. It's just putting you in this position to lose, instead of, this is who I am. I'm a great human being. I'm going to make something out of my life. I am not going to be dependent. I am not going to be dictated. I am not going to be told that I have to be XYZ because I came from XYZ. It doesn't have to happen that way. You're the one that buys into that. I was just working with a large group of African-American children, and, talking to them, and they were telling me this sob story about slavery, and they were telling me this story about how the only way they can get out of their situation is by being an NBA player, by being in sports, but then going to the basketball court is so dangerous because that's where all the drugs are being exchanged and purchased and bought. And I went all the way and I said, who of you in here have been a slave? Who of you in here's parents were slaves? And none of them could raise their hands. It was that they were buying into that was still a problem. And I get it. Racism exists. I get it. These things are there. They're real. I've been there with these children. I know that these things are real. But by bringing up things that happened such a long time, just this thing with Ben Affleck where he's getting slaughtered because his ancestry had slavery in it. How's that have anything to do with Ben Affleck, right? We're just still wanting to stay in that world so we can continue to be victim. And then the secondary thought of like the only way out is to become an NBA superstar or play in the NFL or do something in professional sports. Why are we buying into that? Why? They can be doctors, they can be scientists, they can be inventors, they can be business owners, they can do that. They have hundreds of thousands of examples of that. There's thousands upon thousands of African-American doctors There's thousands upon thousands of African American business owners. Why are they buying into that one particular thing? And it's because it's a cultural buy-in that sells. It's a cultural thing that has profit around it. You can get kids addicted to, the idea that the only way they can become successful is if they go out and, win an NBA championship. Well, how many shoes are they going to buy? How many pants are they going to buy? How many basketball games are they going to go to? This is a game that people are playing, and unfortunately, they're playing it with people, and it pisses me off. But you as an individual have every opportunity to be the greatest you can possibly be when you focus on being that, which means you focus on being the best you can be. Sorry for my soapbox thing there for a minute.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with it. I wonder if there's any tie-in to how people are so convinced that if they just make more money, they'll be happy, or if they just do this one thing, their life will get better, because we set this bar, or this milestone of, here's like happiness and where our life evens out. And then the problem is they hit that bar and the bar moves up again. And they never quite hit that spot of, they say, I'll be happy when I make blank or when I do blank. And the happiness never comes. So I wonder if that plays a role in that whole, well, I've just got to become an NBA superstar. One of the things that you mentioned was kind of hitting this reset button. This is something that I did last year after taking an amazing spiritual journey for a weekend. Was I came back home and I sat down just in front of the TV and took a big notebook and just said, financial, what do I want in my life? Fitness, what do I want in my life? And really went through the whole list and rewrote every aspect of my life. It's kind of like a script for a movie. They review it hundreds of times before it actually gets produced. And it's, if you could write your life into a script of how it is right now and get out of the past and what was happening to you back then, and then maybe write out how you want to change that and how you want that to be, I think that's, a really, really amazing exercise that everyone could do. Now, this is a huge problem, like you said. This is playing with people. This is not just monopoly money here. How do we go about starting to change this type of a culture? I know that's a talk that could go on for weeks and weeks, but are there some things that we should really start looking into right away to start making a huge impact from the ground up?
Yeah, the simplest thing is we have to stop being a victimizing society. We are way too focused on the victim and not the problem. And it could be anything. We can take something as simple as bullying, okay? And I get it. Bullying exists. I lived in both spectrums of the world of bullying, which is kind of odd. I was a bullier, and I also got extremely bullied. And, look, bullying has been around, honestly, since the dawn of time. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. That's not the conversation. But for some reason, somewhere, we decided as a society, and I'm speaking mainly here, in the United States, but we decided as a society it was more important to focus on the victim aspect of bullying than it was on either how to handle bullying or B, why is bullying in existence anyway. And then we have all these reasons, going back to the monopoly concept that you just brought up. It's a lot more inexpensive to deal with the victim. Why? Because it sells easier. It's a much easier sell to put up a picture on Facebook of a girl whose face is mangled, or child whose face is mangled, or they're sad and depressed, and they say something, a caption that says, "We've got to stop bullying." That's a much easier sell than the individual and showing a picture of a guy who is doing the bullying and saying, we've got to heal or we've got to solve. That doesn't sell as much, right? Because we're attracted to that negative. We're attracted to that save because we all have a hero mentality. We all want to be the hero. And so having a victim concept enables us to be heroes. So the simplest way for us to, and that's just one simple example, and like you said, we could talk for hours about it, and it's not belittling the fact that bullying happens and that bullying's real and all these things. Don't get me wrong. It's just we're not solving bullying by focusing all our attention on these victims. And that is just one example. Our entire society is based on this victim mentality. I will never forget, and this isn't a political thing. Don't get me wrong. I think that every president has their good qualities and their bad qualities, but I will never forget the news conference, and I think this was in President Obama's first campaign before he was even president. And a woman came out of the convention center that he had been speaking at, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I will never have to work again. The government," I believe she said, "Obama is going to take care of me," but I think she meant the government is going to take care of me. And that was played, and of course everyone tried to make a big deal about it, but it actually took off, and the comments and the people that were talking about it was like, it's about time that somebody takes care of me. It's about time that my taxes do something. It's about time that, the government does something to fix these problems. And I just sat back and I just thought, gosh, we are going down such a psychological damaging position as a society and as individuals when we say someone else is going to take care of me, because then what we allow is someone else making us feel good. So it's a double-edged sword. We can't let somebody take care of us and at the same time not allow them to infect or affect us. Big difference. But what I mean by that is, if we allow someone to take care of us, then we're also giving them the permission to make us feel a certain way. And that's where we start going down this. And that's that victim mentality. This country, the United States of America, was never built on the idea of victimization. It was never built on the idea of this, we must all compete with each other. It was never built on these emotions that we're seeing. It was built on the principle of equal opportunity. It was built on the principle of working together to fight the problem. It was built on the concept that each of us pick up a shovel, not one of us pick up a shovel. And we're shifting that so rapidly, and social media is expanding upon that, and these things are happening, and it's undertone stuff. And I see this with the kids. I go work with 6th graders to seniors, and I see this starting very, very young age, but that they're looking for everyone else to solve their problem. And if there is a problem that somebody else isn't solving, they're incapable of solving problems. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. I just got done speaking to thousands of youth, and I've got all these follow-up questions. And one of the biggest follow-up questions is, how do I do it? Because they're not being taught how to take control of their situation in a positive, respectful, courageous way and make something happen, because everything has been done for them. And that is victim mentality. And that is the first thing we got to change, Brian. That is the first thing in your own life. Look at everything that you're doing and look at all the victimization that you're giving yourself and just stop it. Just stop it. Stop paying attention to that kind of energy. Start shifting your language. If somebody posts something on Facebook about how ugly they are and how much they hate themselves, do not post the thing underneath there that says, "Oh, sweetie, you're so beautiful, you're awesome, you're amazing." Don't do that. That person needs attention. What you're doing is pouring gasoline on a fire. You're not giving them a solution. Private message them and say, "Hey, I'd like to chat. I'd like to talk with you. What makes you feel like you're not beautiful?" Totally different language. You're still supporting them, but find out the root. Don't just throw freaking gas on the fire and say, "Oh, honey, no, you're so beautiful. You're amazing." Stop that garbage. Because now all they're going to do is tomorrow they're going to post the same thing because you gave them attention, which they need, but you didn't solve a problem. So go give them attention and solve a problem by just simply asking them, "Why do you feel you're ugly? What makes you feel that way?" And it's a much harder conversation. Going back to we're lazy, right? It's a much harder conversation. It doesn't sell. It's not sexy. It's not politically correct sometimes. But F all of that political correct and all of this, stuff. Freaking just get to the root of humanity and start helping people.
It's really amazing that you say that, because I see this all the time on social media. People use both Twitter, Facebook, and these status updates to post, it went from here's what I'm eating to breakfast to now it's like, here's why I'm miserable and today is the worst day ever. It's almost like this place for us to bottle up all of our emotions because we haven't learned the right tools to deal with them. And we've got this sense of entitlement. And I think that this was something that was hard for me to learn myself, was the world owes you nothing. It owes you absolutely nothing, and it's up to you to make the world and to make your life and your experience what it is. And that really comes with taking charge and almost becoming your own superhero or superhuman. And this is something that you teach quite often, and you have an amazing program online. Could you share with us a little bit about Superhuman Life and what that is?
Yeah. So basically, I work with youth, and that's my primary responsibility. But I had so many adults messaging me, or calling me, or texting me, or emailing me, asking me to take the same principles that we're teaching these children who are in these situations. And quite frankly, it's way more children than people think it is, way more. And in fact, it's 1 out of 3. So 1 out of 3 children in the United States. It's a huge, huge problem with abuse and neglect and all these different things. So it doesn't surprise me there's a lot of adults, because this kind of thing doesn't happen overnight. We don't go from one society to another in just a few days or a few years even. This has probably been a couple of decades in the coming. So Superhuman Life is an adult program. It's completely free, where I walk you through a code that I developed when I was younger. I didn't realize I developed a code, but when I sat back and kept getting the question over and over again of how do you change your life around from being this child who at 7.5 was never supposed to be anything, to being 30 years old and being one of the quote unquote, this is a title that I didn't self-proclaim but was given to me, as one of the most influential minds of your generation. How does that happen? And so I sat back and I looked at my life story, and I looked at all these different markers in my life, and I figured out that I had unknowingly created this code. So I put it together, and the code walks you through honesty, it walks you through healing, and it walks you through a new definition of the word hope. You even mentioned it. We have a hope inside of us. That can work if you understand the superhuman definition of hope. If you understand these definitions that are reframing things that you've been thinking your entire life. And quite frankly, the human language has been slaughtered throughout time. We have meanings like, for example, I want to serve you. Well, the word service, or serve, comes from the root of servant and slave. And so really what you're saying is, I want to be your slave. And we've ignored that and said, well, yeah, it just means I want to help you. I want to be, it does, but these words still have meaning. They still have power. And when we say things like, I hope my life changes, we're using it in a way that hope was never, that was never the root of the word. That's not where it came from. That's not why we created that word. And so these things happen. It's natural. So I'm showing people recreating, like the word honest. People think that the word honest means one thing, and it does. It means be honest and all that, but there's a deeper root meaning to where that word came from and what it meant when it was being talked about. So Superhuman Life really helps you refocus these common phrases, these common things. But why I focus on the word so heavily is because it helps you see how, if you put all this together, you can overcome anything in your life. You can overcome something as simple as a divorce, quote unquote. I am using air quotes when I say simple, or a loss of a job or something like that, to something maybe that you see as extreme as a rape or molestation or suicide or anything else. This code is all across the board as to what it does for people. And I've seen thousands of people go through it. You wanted to talk about it, so I said, that's great, we can talk about it, but you need to go through it. Otherwise, I don't feel it would be ethical to your listeners. You informed me that you went through the process. You've been getting the emails. You're seeing the deal. You gave me an amazing testimonial of how it's impacted your life, and it's all free and it's there for you. And most people, we have all this analytical stuff on this tracking everything and looking at all the analytics and stuff. Excuse me, the wrong word I used there, but all the analytics. And the average user will watch each video 2.4 times. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So anyway, that's what Superhuman Life is. It's a free program designed for adults who have gone through something, but more importantly, anyone who wants to take their life from where it is to something greater. That's where I designed that program and put that content together. Could I go and make it better? Sure. Could we add more to it? Of course. It's a starting point. It gets you thinking. It gets you ready to experience maybe some other things. And then I've got, more programs and more things that you can tack onto after that.
And what's the website for people who want to check that out?
It's superhuman.life. So instead of superhuman.com or superhumanlife.com, it's just superhuman.life.
Perfect. And for everybody listening, this is something that I went through over about the last week. And I was talking to Wesley a little bit before we got on this call, just to let him know some feedback about these videos, because it's there's a lot to go through. It's been very helpful. There's some serious value in this. It's not just one of those, hey, we've got this free video training for you. This is definitely going to get your mind thinking and get your mind moving in the right direction. And I highly recommend, as soon as you guys are done listening to this episode, that you head on over there. Don't wait for us to, say that it's in the show notes and head on over to our website. Definitely just go to superhuman.life. Wes, you are doing something really amazing here. I completely believe that you could reach 25 million people, as you said at the beginning. And I think that, this is just the tip of the iceberg for you and for everyone. And it's time to kind of rise to the call and do exactly what you want in life, because the truth is we're only here for so long and we don't know when that last day is going to be. And why should we not be trying to make a difference in our own lives and in others' lives?
Yeah, one of my good friends, Dale Partridge, just came out with his book, People Over Profit, which is another great, if you're looking for a good read, that's a phenomenal read. But I interviewed him and we were talking, and I'll probably slaughter his quote, but it kind of what you just said, this is our lives. And it's not a rehearsal, right? This isn't a dress rehearsal. I mean, this is it. This is your life. This is your performance. This is what you're doing. And every day, because the sun sets and the sun rises, is a new opportunity. It's a cleanse. It's an ability for you to change instantly. And change does happen instantly. I want everyone to know that. Change happens instantly. Now, maintaining that change, that takes habits, and habits take time. But I've seen people in a matter of 3 to 4 weeks completely change their lives, whether it's youth or adults or whatever, and start on a path. I just got an email while you and I are on this, actually right before we got on here, of a woman who could not deal with herself from basically 14 years to, I think she's now into her mid-50s. And she's gone through the program, and she sent me a 2-part video. Each video, I haven't listened to them yet. I'm just looking them right now on my computer, is 14 minutes apiece. So she sent me a 28-minute video testimonial that in the email she sent me, she said, you've completely changed my life. This is what's happening. Please watch these videos. I've never recorded myself on video because I've never been able to stand the way that I look. And now she's recorded 28 minutes of testimony video, and she wants me to watch it and see if I want to share it. And I'm honored that she's even done that. And that's not a glory me, please don't take it that way. This is the simple fact that people change, and people can change very quickly. Yes, it's difficult. You've created habits. You've created these environments. You've created these excuses. You've created these things in your life that are your reality. That doesn't mean they're reality. You can make a change in your life right now, this second, this moment, right now, where you decide enough is enough. It is time for you to stand up, to take charge, to be a leader in your own life. And as I tell everyone, you have 2 choices in life. You can be a victim or a hero. And every hero had to be a hero to themselves before they could save the world. So this is your time to make the change. You're no longer going to be a victim. It's time for you to stand up and be a hero. And the first person you need to look in the mirror and save, and the first person you need to look in the mirror and improve, and the first person you look in the mirror and become the best you can be is you. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop worrying about everything else. Be selfish for a minute so that you can become the ultimate selfless human being that is out there, strong, secure, and happy, and able to help other people. Will you have bad days? Yes. Will you have days you just want to sit on the couch and play Madden, or sit on the couch and watch your soap operas or Netflix? Yes. But will you have more days where you feel like you're empowered, you're strong, you're ready to take on the challenges of life, you're ready to make your life a different life, you're ready to do things that you never thought you could do before, and you're ready to help mankind? Yes. It'll be a 10-to-1 ratio. When you stop the attitude, the defeatist attitude, when you stop living and believing the excuses, when you become the best you can be, you will change the world.
And it's a process, and I thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today. I think that that's the best way to leave off this episode, because I think people are going to go through and be playing this episode 2.4 times, because this has really been great, both for myself and for our listeners. So, just for you guys listening in, this is for me too. I've been going through these videos. I've been watching them intently and taking notes. I have a bunch of Post-its here in front of my computer. So I highly recommend that you guys head on over to this website. Wes, is there any other way for people to kind of keep track of what you're doing? Any other websites that you'd like them to check out?
Always check out a human project, humanproject.com, .org, whatever, but it's as in apple, or A as in apple, excuse me, humanproject.com. Go check that out. Watch the stories from the children. Donate. It takes $25 a month for us to sponsor a youth through our program. I speak to thousands of youth every month, and hundreds change their lives. I can't even tell you how many emails we get, how many messages we get. It works, and I need support. This is what we do. This is my quote unquote livelihood. This is what I've dedicated my life to, and I can't do it alone, and I know that. And so if you can go to the website, take a look at that, that would be fantastic. Share it. If you don't have the finances, just get the word out there that there's hope, that these children do not have to live in the lives that they are living in. And like I said, it's 1 out of 3. It's 1 out of 3. And every minute in this country, a youth attempts suicide. Every 13 minutes, they're successful. That's why we got to reach 25 million, because no more deaths. No more deaths. Not over something as simple as they don't feel worth anything, because everybody is worth something.
That's great. And thank you so much for spending some time with me here today, Wesley. It's been great speaking with you. I'm going to continue to be looking out for your emails and keeping track of everything that you're doing and watching your videos. I'm going to go back and actually probably rewatch these videos here shortly later on this week. So thank you so much for putting that out to the world. And I hope to talk to you very soon.
It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to be on your program. Thank you for all you do.
You've probably heard me talk about designing a life that you actually want to live. You might have even heard about my travels or experiences and thought to yourself, yeah, I do want to do that. Eventually, someday I'll probably do it. And my guess is that you've been thinking about doing it for a long time. So I want to tell you this: stop thinking. Your time is right now. You don't need any more time. You don't need any more info. You don't need to keep putting it off and planning for the perfect time, because the truth of the matter is this: you could be the person who sits around and thinks about living a better life, or you can be the person that decides that today is the day that you're going to actually do it, and I want that for you. Because you already have what it takes. You've got a fire inside. Even if you can't see it right now, it's lit, but you need to open yourself up to the possibilities and throw a couple logs into the flames. So join me and the Year of Purpose tribe by subscribing to our YouTube channel and iTunes podcast. And if you really like us, please leave a review. This is Zephan Moses Blacksburg, and I can't wait to see you again on the Year of Purpose podcast.